Well, I've had the pleasure of working with Michael for a number of years and always open to frank conversation with partners that we work with in community. And really, it is a huge life and death situation. I agree with the conclusion there. One of the most stark statistics that we face is that the average life expectancy in British Columbia in our province for most people is a little over 80, typically around 81, 82 years. Sadly, if you live in the Downtown Eastside, your life expectancy is around 59 years, almost a quarter less the average British Columbia. So to me, it is quite clearly, starkly, a life and death situation. But I wouldn't say for a second that our officers are contributing to that problem. It's really a product of the multidimensional factors that we see: homelessness, substance use, the most complex drug addiction, now traumatic brain injuries that Mr. Campbell was talking about, physical health challenges, all of these concurrent problems that our officers face every day. So I wouldn't say that our officers are fueling or contributing to the sad reality.
I guess, what is the limit, though, to what police can do there? I mean, I've gone down in the morning, I've walked around while police and city crews, move up Hastings Street. They clear out people who may have spent the night on the street, and they, take tents and they stand patiently by while people pack up their stuff and move along. There aren't really any place for those people to go, or there isn't really any place for those people to go. But what we've seen is, you walk down Hastings Street and during the daytime you might go, wow, it looks kind of cleaned up here. But then you go to the back alleys and everything's basically moved into the back alleys. So how do you police that?
Absolutely. I think we have to take a view really on the long term, and really what we've been focusing on lately with our increased deployments down there, more officers on the street, is really about ensuring safety for everyone, from the most vulnerable all the way through every resident, people that live in the community, come down to experience Gastown, Chinatown. And really, it's not about trying to shoo the problem away or displace it. We're very keen on looking at displacement. We haven't seen that. What we've seen is that last year alone, our statistics around violent crime fell by 10%. And they specifically fell in the northern half of the city, in what was traditionally District 1 downtown, District 2 East Vancouver, and now District 5, which really encompasses kind of Hastings Crossing, Strathcona area.
Well, people will tell you, people who live in Strathcona, and I am a former resident of the neighborhood for a long time, that the problem has been pushed eastward down Hastings Street, and now where you used to have people gathered in front of Carnegie, people have just been, moved down east, and those neighborhoods are experiencing it. And I understand the frustration, there must be on the part of police, in that you can just sort of, if you squeeze the problem, it just goes somewhere else.
And we're definitely acutely aware of potential displacement. All our statistics say that, while there are isolated incidents in specific blocks, specific neighborhoods that we address and we respond to in terms of potential displacement, overall, across the whole city, especially broadly in the northern half of the city, our violent crime statistics, our overall crime statistics have declined dramatically. Mm-hmm. So overall, the process is working. And to your point earlier about, what the police can do, I always say, we're not saying for a second police are the silver bullet to this problem, but we always say that policing is foundational. We know from partners, whether it's housing partners like Michael, whether it's our health partners, some blocks, some specific housing locations have become so unsafe that our partners, whether they're engaged in physical health outreach, mental health outreach, harm reduction, poverty reduction, whether they're NGOs, volunteers, there's certain areas that our key partners do not feel safe going to.
Yeah.
And so I always say, policing is not the answer, but it is absolutely foundational. If those spaces aren't safe, if our partners can't go and do their good work, then we're not going to see change.
Larry Campbell spoke with our afternoon show earlier in the week on Tuesday, and he talked a little bit about how he would like to see policing evolve in the neighborhood, as he put it. Here's a bit of what he said.
In my perfect world, we have beat cops. I mean, I go back to the 70s. Like, the beat cops knew everybody. They knew who needed help, who didn't need help, who was going to have a problem if they drank too much.
And so is it, in this day and age, is it possible to go back to that kind of model?
Absolutely, and that's what we've done over the last year, is not only increasing the number of officers down there. Initially, it was done through overtime, and so you might see different faces, but now we've gone to permanently staffing those teams. So not only is it more cost-effective that it's not on overtime, it's on regular time, it's also more consistent. which Mr. Campbell's speaking about there, and I fully agree. I worked down there for 5 years myself, and you'd take people, and they would always be amazed that you could come into a block with 50 people, and you knew the one person to talk to, and you knew the one person who was new. But that is exactly Mr. Campbell's point. That's beat policing, of understanding. I know the other 49 people, so I can identify quite quickly who's new, who do I not know, and interact with them. And that's the magic, and that's what's really called for. And I fully support Mr. Campbell's comments.
And why did we ever get away from that model in the first place?
I think, the Downtown Eastside, we've gone through different evolutions, not just from policing, but society and how we address it. Do we accept it? Do we turn our attention away from it? And really, I remember, before I was a police officer 25 years ago, I remember going down there 40 years ago as a young man to Army and Navy with my dad. And first, getting exposed back then, rice wine was the problem. And seeing the evolution, as a police officer, and it's really that focus, and it's not just police; it's on everyone to really work together, break down barriers, and come together. Our systems were made in isolation. We're siloed service providers typically, and that worked in probably a much more simple time. But the problems are much more complex than that, and I think that's the work that Mr. Campbell's looking at.
And he has been in the position for 6 months. What do you think of his work so far? What have you seen?
I had an opportunity to review his comments on Tuesday in the renewal. I know our departments had engagement with them and fully support the work. We actually, back 2009, almost 17 years ago, I was part of a project that we wrote a white paper on our position on the Downtown Eastside. And in it, one of the key recommendations was advocating for a Downtown Eastside czar. So while a little delayed, we're very happy to see Mr. Campbell, as you covered off in his biography, is eminently qualified and experienced. I think in my position, it's the key finding I always say is, we have to move away from silos. I always say, if the police over a couple days process 100 people through our jail, how many of those people, what percentage do we honestly think the police should be the primary responding agency? Probably very few. Mm-hmm. Most of the people we deal with, their criminality is really a symptom of unaddressed upstream drivers. Homelessness, addiction, unaddressed mental health issues, unaddressed physical health challenges. So really, the police are responding to much broader societal issues. And really, for me, we need to see a breakdown of silos and agencies working together more collaboratively.
And who should take the lead when something like that happens? I mean, that seems to be one of the issues, is you do have a lot of agencies working down there. Some people would suggest at cross purposes, and a lot of money being spent that may be, overlapping.
Absolutely. And everyone will always advocate that, their specific service delivery is key. But when it comes down to sitting down and talking about 100 potential clients that cross many different services, asking agencies who is going to take responsibility with Phil, who do we believe, what do we believe is his primary, one or two top issues that need services? What agencies are willing to take lead on, providing better outcomes for individuals? That's where we see a lot of lack of ownership, a lot of lack of accountability. And as for police, we're used to this, and we're happy to say, hey, there's definitely people that we should be lead on. Your high-risk offenders, your repeat violent offenders in community. Absolutely, we should probably be lead on those individuals. But so many, the majority of individuals we're dealing with are sadly people that are falling through the cracks that require other services. And
in February, Vancouver City Council voted for an additional $5 million in funding for the police to set up, an academy of some kind in the Woodwards building, and the place vacated, I guess, by London Drugs. Tell me what the advantage of that is. Why should the City of Vancouver be taking over, or the Vancouver Police Department be taking over training that is traditionally done by the Justice Institute?
Well, I think, obviously with our own service delivery, all the communities across BC, you look at the other municipal agencies in British Columbia, no disrespect to them, but the communities that they police are typically much smaller, much different than Vancouver. Yeah. Having officers that right from day one are trained in community, that experience, and serve in Vancouver, walk the streets in Vancouver, go for runs in Vancouver, that they're being brought into the community, being able to tailor our training to the specific data experiences that we're seeing our officers interact with on the front line is key. And that's not a slight against any of the police departments or against traditionally the Justice Institute where I went. It's just the reality of how much policing has changed since my time when I went through 25 years ago, and really trying to produce the best, most highly trained officers we can. We already provide an additional 7 weeks of training on top of the Justice Institute training just to meet our unique needs. So having the ability to have our own curriculum that meets the unique challenges and needs in Vancouver and setting up officers to excel as soon as they're deployed on the road is something that I think is good for everyone.
Do you think there are people, I mean, when you try to look at the Downtown Eastside through, a fresh set of eyes, and I know how difficult that is for somebody who's, been dealing and working in the neighborhood as long as you have. But, I sometimes drive down there and I think, how do other people see, like, why do we go through that and say, how is this acceptable? I mean, you look at what is happening down there, and how do we drive through that and think, yep, that's just the way it is?
Absolutely, and I fully agree with your point. It's we can't be apathetic towards it. We can't give up. In my career, the challenges have only progressed. The drugs have only become more toxic. The scope of homelessness, all the challenges that we're facing have only become more profound. And simply being resigned to that isn't acceptable. We talked about the poor life expectancy. That's not acceptable. And so we can't just, throw our hands up or give up. We have to come together. We have to say this isn't acceptable, and we have to find new solutions. So, fully support the work that Mr. Campbell's doing to hopefully find those solutions and recommendations.
All right.